All right, this is my last Apple deep dive video, and it's gonna be on the M1 MacBook Pro. Let's get to it. All right, everybody, welcome back to Gadget Conquest, and today we are doing our final Apple deep dive video on the M1 MacBook Pro. And I'm just gonna say it right now, this is like the best product that Apple has ever made. It's awesome. I have my complaints, but there are standard complaints that I have with every Apple keyboard, for example. Like, I hate that they do this nonsense where the function key is the bottom left key on the keyboard there. And it bugs me because as a person that uses the terminal a lot, the control key is still used quite a bit there. In VS Code, it's also used quite a bit. So not having the control key in the one place where it always is supposed to be is kind of annoying. However, the rest of the keyboard experience is pretty solid. Ever since they switched back from the butterfly switches to these more scissor style switches again, it's been a lot better. And overall, the experience with this thing is just great. And really, it comes down to the battery life. This is the best battery life I've ever had on a laptop that you could actually do work on. Like, I've had Chromebooks that could last forever, but at the end of the day, they're Chromebooks. They're kind of, especially from a developer's perspective, they're kind of useless. Maybe for someone who is just going to be on the internet all day, they're better, but I need dev tools, and Chromebooks just don't really supply them as much as they should. There is the Chrome on Linux beta. I think it's still in beta. It's been in beta for many years now. But it's just not comparable to an actual desktop experience like a MacBook would give you. The M1 processor in this thing is very performant. It has great single core performance. However, being a 4 and 4, where it's 4 performance cores and 4 low performance cores, it's basically just a 4-core chip. The low performance cores are good for background tasks, however, they're not useful for when you need true multi-threading. So things like compiling code, one of the big things that hits me is Docker containers. Compiling Docker containers is really, really annoying. It just takes kind of forever. But outside of that, other dev tasks that I do, more standard dev tasks that I do, like just opening up PHP Storm or going through on VS Code and just reloading some front-end stuff, is absolutely great. It works just fine. And I cannot stress how amazing the battery life on this thing is. Seriously, it's amazing. You can go multiple days, just don't even take your charger. If you're the kind of person that you maybe work from home, but you don't like working at home because you get distracted easily, maybe you like to go to the park or a coffee shop or some other place other than your home, you could take this thing without even worrying about bringing a charger. It's fantastic. Now, it is the 13.3-inch model, so the screen does feel kind of small. There are rumors about a 14-inch model, which would be like what they did with the 15.4-inch to the 16-inch, and that would be really cool because 14 inches, in my opinion, is like the perfect size for a portable laptop. And yeah, I honestly can't wait to see this in the 16-inch model. Of course, the 16-inch model would need more cores. The 4 cores on here, the 4 performance cores on here are great for a small laptop like this because of the expectation of performance, but on a larger 16-inch laptop, I would expect way better multi-core performance, and 4 cores is not going to do it. I would need 6 to 8 performance cores at least. But I was expecting much worse. Honestly, I was expecting the M1 processor in here and the QEMU-based layer that they have for virtualization and emulating x86. I thought it was going to be crappy, and in some development cases, it is crappy, like using it with, for example, MySQL Docker container doesn't support ARM yet, so you have to use the x86 emulation. If you specifically have to use MySQL, you can use MariaDB instead, which I definitely recommend. But if you do that, it sucks. The performance is awful. You don't have to do that though. You can use the MariaDB container instead, literally based off of MySQL anyway. So, but other than that one instance and the instances of really, really, really intensive apps that rely on x86 emulation, it's not bad. It's actually really, really good. Web browsing is a pleasure because I can sit on my couch and keep this thing on my lap and it never heats up. It at no point does it ever get uncomfortable on my lap. That was a really big annoyance that I had with the 15.4-inch MacBook Pro. It just got really hot, and that's how a lot of laptops are. They're not really made for your lap. This is a laptop that's made for your lap. It's really, really cool. I wish that they had put Thunderbolt ports on both sides. There's only the 2 Thunderbolt ports on the left side. There's nothing on the right side except for a headphone jack, and that's kind of disappointing because I actually really enjoy having Thunderbolt ports on both sides, especially because of the fact that I can charge from both sides. So it kind of sucks, but I think most people would rather have 2 Thunderbolt ports on one side than have one on each side, especially because there's tons of hubs and adapters that allow you to take advantage of multiple monitors and tons of devices, and they use a double Thunderbolt setup. So, you know, it's a trade-off. I don't think that adding the Thunderbolt ports would have been much extra money for them. I think they just are purposefully doing this. I've complained before about Apple sort of nerfing their own products just to make them fit into a specific price category and making it so that features, you can only get certain features from certain price categories and whatnot. So it's like if you want to get 4 Thunderbolt ports, you have to spend the $2,600 for a MacBook Pro 16-inch, which I'm not a fan of. I don't like that. There's no reason to do that. If you have the ability to make an amazing product, you should make an amazing product. I don't know, especially for Apple. Like, they're a company that makes a lot of money off of hardware, so. Anyway, get rid of the somber note. This thing's really cool. I really like it. The screen is absolutely beautiful. Even on camera, it looks good, which is awesome. The trackpad is huge. I personally am not a fan of huge trackpads. I actually prefer them slightly smaller so that I have more space for the keyboard. However, I can say that the keyboard on this is very well spaced out. The keys are a decent size. The feel, the travel, it all feels very good. The keys aren't too stiff, but they're also not too like mushy. And I don't have any accidental key presses anywhere else. So, you know, Apple finally came back to making regular good keyboards, which, to be fair, they've already started doing that, starting with the 16-inch MacBook Pro. That's not special to this MacBook. However, what is interesting is the fact that the USB ports here don't support PCI Express devices, I believe. So they don't support external docks and whatnot. And I want to say that's probably a limitation of the processor itself, just not fully. Actually, I wonder if it is a limitation of the processor itself. It very well could be, because everything is integrated on there. Maybe they just don't have extra PCI Express lanes that they... No, because the storage is PCI Express, so... I don't know. I couldn't tell you, honestly. I didn't do enough research on it because I didn't care to. I was too busy enjoying this thing. The price point is really good, especially if you get it used. I actually got mine used. This is the base model, so it's only 8 gigabytes of RAM and 256 gigabytes of storage. However, for the way that I use it, that is more than enough. And I think for a lot of people, it's actually more than enough. This thing is really, really efficient. But I would have liked more RAM. However, I haven't had any issues with RAM recently, so that's, you know, take what you can from that. I got this for $8.99, I believe, used at Best Buy, so that's a pretty big discount. People seem to return these quite often. I couldn't tell you why. Maybe they just don't like the screen size. I know that 13-inch, when I worked at Best Buy, 13-inch MacBooks were the ones that got returned the most, and maybe it is because of the screen size. Maybe they just, they buy like the cheapest MacBook that they can, the cheapest MacBook Pro they can, and they find that, maybe the battery life isn't there, maybe the performance isn't there, or they just can't handle the tiny screen. So it could be one of those things. I personally really enjoy using this thing. I have a 15-inch laptop that I use for work, and at work I also have a 34-inch display. I have two 27-inch displays here. Like, I have bigger screens that I can use if I need them. The whole point of this thing is to have something personal and portable that I can take with me, that I can work on, and just be out and about and not feel restricted by the need to plug into the wall, and while still having, performance. Or some performance. And I think that this does a great job. This is definitely Apple's best product right now. In their entire product lineup, this is their best product in my personal opinion. Of course, the iPad Pro is really cool. The new iMac, really with the M1, is really, really cool as well. Those are really cool. However, the iPad Pro can't run desktop applications. This can. The iMac isn't portable. This is. I feel like this is the perfect balance between portability and using desktop applications, and I don't think that anything in Apple's ecosystem or catalog of products can even match this thing. And if someone was to ask me, what laptop I think they should get, and they're just like a regular college student or something like that, I would probably say this or the MacBook Air with the M1 processor. Probably the Air with the M1 processor, since it's basically just this, like, without a fan or something like that. So yeah, I love this thing, and I think that most people would love this thing. This is kind of just the laptop for everyone, really. And that's hard to say because for a long time, Apple has not made, in my opinion, a laptop that most people could agree was both good and worth the money. I think this, for the price point, is definitely worth the money. Like, you're not gonna find something that gets this kind of battery life with this performance at the same price point, or any price point really, unless you look at a Chromebook or one of maybe a new AMD laptop that gets good performance, or the new Evo Intel processors. But even then, their battery life doesn't match up, and the performance sure doesn't. So honestly, I thought I was going to hate this thing because I hated the 15.4-inch MacBook Pro. I hated it so much. So many issues with power, so many issues with overheating, so many issues with the keyboard that, however, I will say, the anodizing that Apple does on this sucks. So if you can get kind of a keyboard protector, some kind of protector on these things, over time what happens, and it happens on my boss's laptop has it too, the palm rests next to the trackpad, the anodizing on there just eventually wears out, and you get the pure metal under it, which does not look good because there's like a weird yellow sheen to it. So if you can get some kind of, if you're like a heavy typer that constantly has your palms on there, get some sort of cover or something on it, maybe just a skin or something, and that will really, make it last a lot longer. But yeah, I'm very, very happy to have bought this thing, and I'm looking forward to what Apple releases next later on this year in September. Is it September? I feel like it's September. I don't remember. Anyway, I'm looking forward to what Apple releases after this, and I hope you guys are too. And yeah, that's it. That's all I have for you. That is my last video on the Apple deep dive, and I'm finally free. I'm finally free. Free at last from the Apple ecosystem. I'm gonna keep using this, but I'm done with that iPhone. It's just not that great. I'm done with the Apple Watch. I'm gonna use them for a couple more weeks, and then I got Samsung products coming in on the 27th. So look forward to a massive unboxing. I bought the Fold, the Flip, the new Galaxy Watch, and the new Galaxy Buds. So look forward to that unboxing. It's gonna be really great. And of course, I will do, maybe I'll do a Samsung ecosystem as well as as well as this Apple one. Look forward to that. And that's all I've got for you. So have a good night, have a good week, and I'll see you in the next one.